Hey, it's Karen from PortPrep, and I'm here to tell you about architecture and design portfolios and a course that we have that can help you make your portfolio. So if you're applying for architecture, interior design, or industrial design, we have a course that's designed for high school students or college freshmen to prepare a portfolio for undergrad submissions, or you could also use it for master's level. If you go to just our homepage where you could book a free portfolio assessment, that's just a great place to start to show me your work, and I can make suggestions to you of what would be a good path forward for you. But you can also click on the side, the classes tab here, and that'll also take you to our page about classes. Notice here you can request a trial lesson. So if you see something today you want to see more of, you can get portal number 1 to try out for yourself, see if you like it. If you come, you can see it's a 8-week online course, and there's several different learning outcomes. You get support on how to make your architecture and interior design portfolio. You learn how to develop intriguing and well thought out designs. Expand your cultural awareness and global thinking skills, because that's something they're looking for as well. Explore your ideas via 3D design principles and approaches, and discover ways to create unique artworks to help your portfolio stand out and show that creativity that you have. Preparing for Carleton, Waterloo, and Ryerson architecture portfolio submissions that are quite specific. If you're interested in interior design, like we get asked a lot for OCAD-U, Ryerson, and Humber, we are very familiar with what they need, and I've taught at some of these programs and happy to help you with that. And our classes are small, so we're able to adapt to no matter who's applying. And so don't be worried if you think it's going to be too architectural or not industrial design enough. We're familiar with all of these things, can adjust this to suit your needs. So as you scroll down, you're going to see what's covered in the course. I invite you to read this a little more carefully. So week 1 is igniting your creative spark and exploring and altering 3D forms. You're going to activate your creativity. So what we start with is Ryerson often asks for creativity challenges as sort of a home test, where they'll ask you to make something 3-dimensional. That's been put on hold for a little while because of COVID. I know they are reinstating their drawing test this year. Always check to see what they're doing, but I love their idea. So even if they're not asking for it, it's so good to try this out, and how to make things 3-dimensionally in a really narrow constraint, so that it really pushes your creativity. And then we learn how to make objects and design through a sort of sketching layers, but starting with 3D paper sculpting, so that even if you haven't drawn before, you'll have a way to start doing that concept sketching method. It makes it so much easier. It kind of teaches you about perspective while you're designing. Gives you more freedom to design the way I teach it. Because one of the things I've found in a lot of my years of experience over the last 10, 15 years of working with architecture students, some of you know how to draw, but a good chunk of you don't, or maybe haven't taken art class in high school. And so it really helps to have a way to enter into doing that regardless of your experience level. And so then we get really into concept development and sketching techniques and idea development. What are the stages of design and how to think creatively and come up with kind of a theme or a thesis project in your portfolio that helps you stand out. And so we spend week 3, 4, and 5 really developing an idea really well and showing it in different ways. Because part of what you want to do in an architecture portfolio is show how you think and how you evolve your ideas, and then how do you visually communicate those ideas. It's a big part of it. It's not just showing off your skills. It's showing your design ideas and communicating those ideas clearly, because that's a lot about what architects do. The other thing that's interesting about the Ontario and Canadian schools for architecture is they don't want just architecture. In fact, they explicitly ask to have oftentimes no architecture, and definitely not AutoCAD or SketchUp and Revit drawings. They want to see what you yourself can make out of your own hand and your imagination, not through that sort of buffer of the computer. Plus, it proves that it's your work, where it's hard to tell when it's generated on a computer. So we teach you how to do everything by hand. And it's not to say you couldn't include some computer stuff, but you must have primarily sort of analog, just physical drawings, paintings, sculptures, these kinds of things. And that can feel a little bit daunting if you kind of feel like you're a designer, not really an artist. So we teach you how to make creative artworks for non-artists and show you some ways to work really creatively with some media instead of in a more conventional way, which often makes it a little more approachable to non-artist creative people. And we also teach you how to do design drawing, perspective drawing, presentation drawings, color rendering, things like that to help you make your portfolio, and how to present your ideas well. There's a little bit of model building stuff, not a lot, but some, and we do instruct a bit about that during our group critiques. Now there's another thing you're going to want to know is how to study with us. We have 3 different options for you to make it affordable and to give you the amount of input you feel you need. So one way you can buy our 8-week course is to just buy the videos and get access to the learning modules so you can work through on your own. So if you're great at self-management and love working on your own, or you're very busy, don't have time to take a course, or your budget is constrained, the intro level gives you access to all the weekly video lectures and slideshows and suggested content or assignments for your portfolio. The basic level is quite popular because you get the access you do in intro, but you also get a weekly group class. These are small groups, so it's a great opportunity for everybody to get help. And I find it so powerful to be able to share your ideas and discuss your ideas as a group. And I find it really helps people evolve their ideas by having these group discussions. Each student gets at least 20 minutes input, sometimes more, maybe up to 30 minutes. And so this is a great way to learn. So every call is recorded. So we use Zoom meetings and we record them and send them out as unlisted videos so that you can go back and watch the input you were given or that other students were given, that you can learn by seeing the input I give them as well. And that's a really great value at $370. These are all quoted in Canadian dollars. And I would say that probably the most popular is signing up at the full level if you have the budget for that. This gives you access to the basic level, the group discussions, and gives you a full hour of private education and input for what you're doing. And another nice thing about this is it gives you freedom to change the schedule, and it gives you the freedom to keep some of your things private, where you can choose what you want to share with the group and what would you rather keep to yourself, because let's face it, you are competing against these peers, possibly for the same schools. We do have students from all over the world applying to our programs, and they aren't necessarily competing with you, but they might be. So The other reason people like this level, not just to have that greater input, but because they have that flexibility of schedule. You can choose to sign up and meet up every 2 weeks. You can get more done. You can change your booking if you need to from time to time. We don't encourage that, but it's possible. The basic level happens once a week, and it's a group class. The way we decide when to have our classes is by group poll consensus. So we have students from all over the world, different time zones, particularly at least across Canada, or just different schedules with school and work. So we actually just poll our students. So go ahead, if you want to take this, just register. We will find a time that works for everybody. We've never had a problem doing that. But if we do, we always find a way that you get the input and the amount of time you paid for. Okay, so let's say the most of the group picked a particular day and it just didn't work for one person. You would get to watch the group video, come when you can, but have your short sort of mini private lesson then, but it wouldn't be like the full hour that other full level students get. Okay, so that tells you about how that works. If you want to sign up, just scroll down and you can pick the level that you want. If you're signing up for more than one course, like you want to take design drawing and architectural and design portfolios, there's a 2-class promo code. Start with an introductory video, and you'll have a bit of a description, what you need, what your materials are, what the homework is, and there's usually a slideshow in most portals. So with this slideshow, we're working with Ryerson's sort of home creativity test as kind of an inspiration jump off point. One year they asked for you to take like a milk carton or a juice carton and do something, alter its form in some way and make it into a design. And so we see some examples of what various people have done with these kinds of things, and you are asked to create something, also doing some drawings, and what can you make by exploring that three-dimensional form. And it's so limiting and challenging. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with the print that's on there? What are you going to make out of it that you think could be portfolio worthy? Even if you don't end up including this in your portfolio, it forces creativity to happen. People make breakthroughs on this exercise. So it's really exciting. So you'll see each time there's a black page that shows you what the suggested work is. And there's usually extra videos for your learning, like how would you cut cardboard and foam core neatly. I ask you to do a pen sketch. Well, how do you use these felt tip pens for design sketching? So there's a video showing that. So that's Portal 1. So in week 2, you're also just getting that creativity going, working in a three-dimensional way. It's really important to put three-dimensional things in your portfolio. So here we're working with make something out of paper, whether it's crumpling up the paper or manipulating the paper in some way. Put it out in front of you and sketch what you see. Sketch many layers on top to kind of play around with different ideas. So you can see me sketching there in the video, and I demonstrate how to do this kind of thing. And so you'll see there's the exercises. I also give supplementary things for you to do if you're really interested, that also help you learn how to draw freeform architecture. Week 3 is when we really get into what is design? How do we think like designers? And one of the problems I see with a lot of students, because of, I think, just the time crunch of secondary education when you're working in high school is learn this thing, get it done, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, finish the curriculum. There isn't a lot of opportunity for think of an idea and then take it to the next level and the next level. Instead of just pick the first thing and get it done, we learn how do we take an idea and really tease it out to a fully thought out idea. So we learn to always have access to look through the slides. So we learn about what is the design process, how to develop ideas, how to think like a designer, looking at examples of all this kind of stuff, understanding how do we come up with really cool ideas and how do we evolve those ideas. Show your thought process. So we introduce you to various ways to give that glimpse into your mind, but in an aesthetically pleasing way. So there's various ways you can do that through different types of presentations of how you're thinking, make them visually pleasing, intelligible, but mostly it's about evolving your ideas, but showing your ideas at the same time. So you move on to week 4, and you also get exposed to different ways of coming up with a thesis project that's really intriguing. It shows who you are, what you're interested in, some real design thinking of different types. It could be architectural, it could be something sculptural, it could be something more furniture based or product, it could be anything. It shouldn't just be architecture in an architecture portfolio, but we teach you what is the concept sketching process and what could that look like and how do you do that, and you're learning how to draw and design at the same time, getting input on both in this course, and then how to present it well. Week 5 is then taking the ideas that got developed from week 3 and 4 and develop them further, making more impactful sketches of those ideas and just moving the ideas further along. So it might be a loose concept sketch, a little bit of color on it, and you're shown some videos about how to come up with ideas and sketch and evolve your ideas. So you'll be able to see various ways of doing that, what the creative thought process is, how can you make creativity happen. So there's a video that teaches about the creative thought process, and the process I've found has really helped students. Sort of this concept sketching that's kind of off the top of your head, really being very almost haptic in how you create, like trusting your kind of intuitive creative vision and just how to access that, to some other people's ideas on automatic drawing, watching a student's lesson for Carleton and how those ideas got evolved, and watching another student who's going through the conceptual sketching process and seeing how she's doing that and getting my input. So it gives you an idea, snapshot into the way you need to think and work and draw to evolve your ideas. Week 6, one of the things that you're asked to do is to make some art. And you might not be an artist, so how can you make interesting artwork? So this is a powerful week. There's lots of examples of different kinds of artworks you can make when you're not really an artist. I mean, maybe some of you are, great. What sorts of things you might put in your portfolio. So I just grab all kinds of interesting artworks from different artists out there that would be appropriate artworks for an architectural portfolio. And I try to grab things that I think you wouldn't necessarily need a ton of skill to do well. So you don't necessarily have to be a fine artist or an illustrator to be able to make an interesting portfolio that's creative. So we just look at lots of interesting and unique ways to make pieces that could look super cool in your portfolio. So there's loads of ideas about that. And then there's a whole bunch of different demos of how you can make things in creative ways, from photo transfer to mixed media, etc.